It's time to introduce a new paradigm for focusing primarily on systemically sustainable human growth and development. And to that end, I think it's time for the academics and the scholars to start fleeing, screaming and yelling from their hallowed halls of academia, and to tear down their ivory towers and utilize the rubble to pave the way for a more sustainable future. And with that bit of hyperbole out of the way, there's an old study called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and the less somebody knows about something, the more likely they are to believe they're good at it, and the more likely they are to try it. Sort of the intellectual version of, hold my beer and check this out. Yeah, it doesn't always work very well. One of the reasons for the rather eclectic mix of studies that are given an overview in the esoteric explorations is because we have worked diligently in many fields of study and across many disciplines, and we've tried to take the best of all of them in order not to control or to coerce, but rather to enlighten and empower the individual. And ideally, through the efforts of the individual, the family, and the local community will both rise as well. But in terms of the Dunning-Kruger effect, we've got all the intellectuals out there thinking and theorizing and never doing a damn thing, and you got all the idiots out there doing something and they're doing it wrong. To that end, it's definitely time to change the way we focus on our efforts. With the human psyche and human nature being what they are, the complex relationship between intelligence, the inquisitive nature, and action is multifaceted and complex, particularly in terms of designing large-scale, systemically sustainable programs for systemically sustainable human growth and development. Far too many people are putting out singular solutions or trying to buck the existing system entirely, which is never going to work, and blanket solutions that oftentimes exacerbate the underlying problems. So the main challenge is that the most intelligent and inquisitive people tend to exhibit a propensity for deeper reflection and critical thinking before taking action, which is necessary, but one cannot be consumed by analysis paralysis. There comes a point in time where you have to do something. While these people may recognize the complexity of societal challenges and the integrated nature of the varying factors involved, they definitely need to keep those under careful consideration. But at the same time, despite the potential ramifications, despite any potential unintended consequences, action has to be taken, and it has to be taken soon. Or on the other side of the Dunning-Kruger effect, you've got individuals who may lack the cognitive capacity or inclination for extensive contemplation, and there are those who say make the right call, make the wrong call, and whichever call you make, your men will follow. Well, yeah, that's true in a combat situation, but in terms of long-term solutions, it's not a viable prospect. This I don't want to say impulsive approach, but this approach that tries to tackle symptoms rather than the underlying disease, the singular solutions that make no allowance for local context or individual context in terms of implementation, they have proven historically to be highly dangerous and often leaving everything in a worse state than it was when they started. The prevalence of these failed or inadequate programs often stems from the application of singular blanket solutions which only address the symptoms while ignoring the underlying challenges and root causes. These solutions further tend to overlook localized contexts and fail to engage with the diverse perspectives and needs of the local families, local communities, and even the local individuals. These programs, these singularly focused or blanket programs, tend to focus on expedience rather than efficacy, and this will often lead to very short short-term success, or even lead to the introduction of more detrimental impacts, leaving everything in worse shape than it was when they arrived on the scene. Implementing large-scale programs that address both the immediate needs and underlying causes of these complex and systemic societal issues, such as poverty and other conditions that allow or even expressly promote the multi-generational societal failures that result in members of those societies becoming and remaining vulnerable, requires a more integrated and adaptive and even scholarly or academic approach to some degree. While there is certainly a need for action, we need thinkers and doers working collectively together for the common good. These programs must go beyond surface-level interventions to address the many complex and systemic challenges that perpetuates the cycle of poverty and vulnerability across multiple generations. It is essential to introduce immediate relief measures for the most vulnerable members of society, but at the same time, we have to begin working towards sustainable solutions that eliminate or eradicate the root causes. A well-planned and comprehensive approach involves engaging in open and honest social discourse to understand community needs, priorities, and aspirations. This inclusive process ensures that all facets of the program are carefully considered before implementation, taking into account the individual, the local context, cultural norms, historical traditions, and existing resources. Flexibility is another key aspect of successful large-scale programs. These programs must be adaptive in nature, allowing for customization to meet the specific needs of local communities. This adaptability enables adjustments based on evolving circumstances and feedback, ensuring that interventions remain effective and responsive to even the most fluid and rapidly changing environments. As communities experience improvements in quality of life, programs must continue to evolve and support continued growth and development, fostering sustained positive impacts for generations to come, in this case, at least over the course of the 200-year plan. And it should be noted also that continued growth and development does not mean unsustainable, non-stop growth. But there has to be a circulation economy. The economy has to be circulated. There has to be activity within the economy or it will stagnate and die. That does not necessarily involve long-term growth, but long-term growth is essential to some degree. It's just not the seemingly well, some experts would seemingly claim that capitalism does require a constant growth, which it doesn't. It requires constant circulation, much like the blood system of the body. As long as the currency is flowing within the local economy can flourish, even with minimal growth. The integrated and adaptive solutions are essential for addressing these complex societal challenges like poverty. By combining the immediate relief of the symptoms with long-term strategies to eradicate the underlying causes, and engaging in inclusive planning processes and maintaining flexibility or adaptability, our large-scale programs can effectively tackle the root causes while at the same time promoting systemically sustainable human growth and development and improving the median quality of life for everyone, from the individual to the family to the local community, which in turn benefits the state. This comprehensive approach embodies a commitment to the integrated and adaptive nature of change, empowering the individuals, families, and local communities to thrive and to break free from the cycle of multi-generational poverty and to eradicate the causes that allow or even demand that poverty flourish across multiple generations. We have to change that. And the only way to do that is to get thinkers and doers on board together. So this one's a call for the academics. Knock down them ivory towers, man. Let's take the rubble and build something worthwhile. Get out them hallowed halls of academia. They're not doing you any good. They're making you money. They've got your tenure, yeah. Okay, but 100 years from now, who's going to remember that? What mark are you truly leaving on the world? I mean, if you've got that proverbial perfect student, perhaps you'll leave a legacy somewhere, but the chances are slim. Not the heartborn professors. My mother's a professor. I'm a high school dropout, but that's a different story. Yeah, speaking of thinkers and doers, right? The very concept of academics knocking down their ivory towers and fleeing from the hallowed halls of academia and actively engaging more directly in real-world initiatives for systemically sustainable human growth and development reflects a much-needed shift towards actionable impact and applied knowledge, wisdom. That is something that is tragically lacking to a major degree. Again, we don't want to sit there and theorize to the point where we've got analysis paralysis, but rather we need to work together with the thinkers and the doers, and we need to coordinate our efforts and begin making a positive change for the world. The academic research and the theoretical framework are essential for understanding these complex issues and developing innovative and effective solutions. There's a growing recognition of the importance of translating these insights into tangible, practical efforts that drive meaningful change. For academics, transitioning from the theoretical research to real-world implementation involves bridging the gap between knowledge generation and the formation of wisdom and practical application. It does require a willingness to challenge traditional academic norms and embrace interdisciplinary collaboration. It requires people actively engaging with the real world to assist in the creation of comprehensive solutions that address real-world challenges. By entering into the real world, academics can leverage their expertise to inform evidence-based policies, innovative programs, and community-driven initiatives that are aimed at achieving systemically sustainable human growth and development. And that's still a lot of S's for me to say. This shift involves not only sharing knowledge in the form of fancy and fanciful flights of fantasy through theoretical thinking, but actively participating in the implementation and evaluation of initiatives, ensuring that research findings translate into positive outcomes for individuals and families and communities, and that rather than focusing on the conversion of knowledge into wisdom, they are instead transforming theoretical thoughts into meaningful and effective real-world solutions, capable of withstanding the devastating impact of practical application on the theoretical mindset. This transition must take place now, and further underscores the need for academia to be more responsive and accountable to societal needs in the short term. It involves breaking down those isolated invective ivory towers and using the rubble for rebuilding and paving the way forward for systemically sustainable human growth and development. The thinkers, the scholars, and the academics who do have a very real capacity for understanding the full implications of societal transformation must begin now to foster partnerships with practitioners, policymakers, and grassroots organizations like ours, and dare to defy tradition and theory, embracing a very tough and very rugged real-world participatory approach. Practical application and problem solving in the real world where the rest of us must continue fighting to survive. Ultimately, by applying these academic insights into practical settings, academics can make a very real and positive difference and contribute to creating a more viable and idyllic world where theoretical ideas are translated, even if in a devastating destruction of some and the affirmation of others, into very real and tangible realities based in practical application and actually doing something that can benefit society at large and will ultimately lead to the establishment of foundational principles of systemically sustainable human growth and development. And again, that is not a knock on the academics, that is not a knock on the professors. You are absolutely necessary for training, teaching, and ensuring the growth of the next generation. Nobody is contesting that work, but we need more of you out in the real world as well. So please, if you're interested, give us a call. Let me know. I'm ready to rock. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment below.